Hello, welcome back to Unit 2, Session 4 of this course. And under Session 4, we'll be looking at cell inclusions. At the end of this session, you should be able to state the role performed by each of the substances that makes up cell inclusions. And also list examples of the substances that form cell inclusions. And then group cell inclusions into organic and inorganic substances, and finally name the organic substances found in the cell. Cell inclusion refers to the non-living chemical components of the cell, and they are also referred to as agastic substances. And the major elements present are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Cell inclusions are also broadly divided into organic and inorganic compounds, and they could be in soluble form and insoluble form. Cell inclusion examples are macromolecules, and examples of the macromolecules are carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, and nucleic acids. And there are some other cell inclusion types, that is tannins, gums, resins, and some mineral crystals such as silica and calcium oxalate, to mention but a few. And we've also mentioned that cell inclusions are broadly divided into organic compounds and inorganic compounds. And so first of all, we'll have a look at the organic compounds in details. So the example of organic compounds, as stated earlier, is carbohydrates, fats, proteins, nucleic acids, and vitamins. So beginning with carbohydrates, they are made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen elements. And the hydrogen and oxygen are in the ratio of 2:1. So the carbohydrates may be monosaccharide, disaccharide, or polysaccharide. An example of the monosaccharide is glucose and fructose, whereas example of disaccharide is maltose and sucrose. And in plants, carbohydrate is stored as starch, whereas in animal cell, it is stored as glycogen. Well, let's look at the function of carbohydrates as an organic compound. So glucose is the form in which carbohydrate is readily broken down in the cell to release energy. And they also serve as structural components in plants and animal tissues. For instance, the cellulose and lignin, which are present in the cell of plants, and chitin found in the exoskeleton of insects, are all made up of carbohydrates. So another organic compound we'll be looking at is lipids. And lipids includes fats and oils, and they contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. But the oxygen percentage is in less proportion as compared to the other elements. And a molecule of fat is able to generate twice as much the energy that carbohydrate could produce when oxidized. And fat is chemically inert, and so it can be stored under the skin and around the visceral organs or internal organs of an organism. So let's look at the function of fats. Fats insulate the body against cold and or heat loss, and they are stored as oil in the seeds of plants, and the oil that are stored in the seeds of plants could be oxidized to provide water for germination, or they could be extracted for other uses. Another important organic compound is proteins, and proteins are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, and sometimes too they contain sulfur and phosphorus. And proteins are formed from smaller units called amino acids, and they are the most abundant organic substance in the cell, and they play an important structural component of the protoplasm. So the function of proteins is that some proteins are enzymes and they catalyze most metabolic activities in the cell. They also are used for growth and repair of body tissues, and they also provide protective function. For instance, hair, nails, hooves, and horns are strong and protective because they contain fibrous protein called keratin. And also collagen, which is a form of protein, gives strength to bones, as well as myosin and actin, which are all proteins and are present in the muscle, aid contraction. Another organic compound we'll be looking at is vitamins, and vitamins are organic substances that are incorporated in cells and they act as coenzymes. And the function played by vitamins is that they are responsible for the healthy growth of the body, and they are required in small amounts or small quantities. And even though they are required in small amounts, the deficiency of any of them has a profound effect on the normal functioning of the body. And for instance, lack of vitamin C is associated with scurvy. And if someone also lacks vitamin B, the person could also suffer from beriberi. Now, another organic compound we'll be looking at is nucleic acids. And the nucleic acids include RNA and DNA. And they are composed of units called nucleotides. And so let's have a look at DNA. The DNA is located or found in the nucleus of a cell, whereas the RNA is found in both the nucleus and the cytoplasm, but it's mostly found in the cytoplasm of cells. But now let's look at the role of or the function that nucleic acids play. Nucleic acids, they are associated with inheritance and characteristics, and they are also involved in the synthesis of proteins. Another compound or group of compounds that makes up cell inclusions is inorganic compounds, and they include water, gases, and salts. So beginning with water, water is the most abundant of inorganic compound found in the cell, and they constitute about between 65 to 90% by weight of the protoplasm, and they serve as a solvent in which other compounds of the protoplasm dissolves, and also they serve as medium in which chemical reactions in the cell takes place. But the most common gases in the cell are oxygen and carbon dioxide. And oxygen is used in the process of respiration, whereas carbon dioxide is the byproduct that is generated after the process of respiration. And so different concentrations of these gases enhances diffusion between the cell and its environment. Salt, which is also an organic compound found in cell, include sodium chloride. And sodium chloride is soluble in water to form ions. And the ions that are formed makes the cytoplasm a good conductor of electricity. And so because of the movement of the dissolved ions, current is generated in the cell, and this particular unique property is important for the functioning of many cells, especially the nerve cell. Then I want you to try this question. What is the main role of water in the cell? Hope you were able to do it. Under Unit 2, Section 4, we looked at cell inclusions being the non-living component of the cell. And we got to know the two main types of cell inclusions, that's organic and inorganic substances. And the chemical composition of the cell inclusions were also studied. The three structural carbohydrates, namely cellulose, lignin, and chitin, were highlighted, as well as keratin, collagen, and myosin as structural proteins were also highlighted.